Hell
Alright,
yeah.
I'm recording.
We are
I was
recording.
trying on my work clothes.
Ah,
Oh, you're gonna be
Fashion.
working? Are you
Professional.
working?
Next Monday.
yay.
Where?
The Lego store.
Oh, that's the.
Dude, hell yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not disclosing my information like Waleed does, but
Oh,
no,
yeah,
I was trying it out and I realized that the long sleeve one, the fancy shirts, like those like silk ones or the ones that are considered delicates when you wash them, it doesn't really suit me too well. I'm very, very thin when it comes to those, and this is super baggy on me.
You're a thin small boy.
Yes,
I'm
but
aware.
I'm toned. I am toned, so I'm good.
I am not toned, but I am tall, so it is fine.
It's okay.
They both
Women
start with
like one or the
T's.
other.
They both start with
Luis.
T's, and that's all that matters.
You are Luis.
I am the Louise.
Yeah, so
The-
that's just good by itself.
No, Louis.
It's not.
Hello. Yes, Brittany is here. Hello.
Yeah.
She's been here before you.
Hi.
Oh,
And
pressure.
sometimes I say random things according to Luis, and I've yet to find an instance when that has happened.
Yeah, because they're not there, Diego.
Yeah.
I added them out.
But it's funny when I say it.
It's not funny when there's no context to anything.
But it's my personality.
Whoa, look at that cloud over there.
Yeah,
What
there are
cloud?
clouds in the sky today. They look pretty floofy. This one right here looks like it looks like if Zeus was laying down on his bed, staring up at the sky.
Okay, let's sync the audio.
It's kind of puppy.
And we are recording on OBS.
Oh, the puppy looks like a Glaceon.
What puppy?
Oh, the cloud.
What? Oh. I don't know
see?
what's going on.
You
Okay.
see? I'm not insane. He might be.
Okay.
Alright, let's sync the audio. Brittany,
3,
we got a clap.
2.
Oh,
Just getting there.
Alright.
wait. So we clap
No,
on
we
on
three.
clap on go.
Alright.
Alright.
Good.
Well,
Good enough.
That was pretty good. Alright, now Luis
That was
needs me for this important part because as the main host, as they like to claim me as, I am
You claim
essential for
yourself
this
as the main host, and
You-
I'm just going along with it.
Oh, okay then. I didn't know that's how we were doing it.
I just
But
realized
okay.
my mic was mute on the computer. On OBS. We should be fine.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Okay. Okay, so now I start the intro. Which
Yeah,
we
funky
don't even
music
have an
it has
intro.
been happening so far.
Yes.
Intro.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Cast Up Pod podcast. I am your host, Diego Maldonado, along with my two other co-hosts right here, Luis and Waleed. Say hello, introduce yourselves once more.
Hi.
Hello.
Hello.
There's a big delay every time we say that. But
Last
today
name
we
not
have
given.
a guest on with us, and her name is Brittany. Give it up for Brittany.
Yay!
Hello.
Yay!
Yeah.
We also go to university with her. Waleed, you're not allowed to say where in the world it is.
No,
on the street.
I can, but Luis will just edit
Just don't
it
say.
down.
Just don't say it. Just don't say it.
With quacks. My new quack
Quack.
export.
And so they know what the topic of today is. I don't.
It's in the chat.
Oh yeah, it is.
Storytelling. We
The
are doing.
storytelling.
Yes.
It's
Yeah, that's
literally the
too
first screen in the chat.
You're right. It is.
I am looking at it.
Environmental storytelling
Well, I'm
versus
blind.
traditional. Okay.
Yes.
So I will
So-
I will first preface saying that they're not mutually exclusive, and most of the time they're not mutually exclusive. But
Whoa,
a lot
whoa,
of games
big
lean
words.
on one more than the other one. So that's what we're going to talk about.
I haven't heard those words since statistics, high school.
What?
Mutually exclusive and the other one.
The other
The other.
the other word that you said. Well,
Yeah, that one.
well, in law we talk about mutually exclusive a lot.
And
Yeah,
we're
you
going
love
off
the law.
topic.
Yes, but okay. So we're gonna go with. So I was thinking a good game that focuses more on environmental storytelling is Dark Souls, and a game that relies very, very heavily on traditional storytelling, which is characters telling you about the world and what's happening around you, is Persona. Any Persona game.
You never see it
Copyright.
Okay.
A surprise.
This just turns
So-
into a cover.
Yes. Copyright a cover.
Just an hour. It's just an hour of us singing.
Very poorly. Yes. So, so we have Brittany here because she is an artist. So she's going. She
I draw
draws
things.
things.
The logo.
She made
Check
the beautiful
odds.
logo.
Check her Insta, which I will not link because dosing and everything.
What?
Whoa.
No, check her. I'll put her Instagram in the description.
If she consents,
Nice.
we can't just put it in there without her knowing.
Yeah, it's
All right.
fine.
See, we have live consent.
Live consent, which means we could be taken off due to the record. Yes, live consent. So,
All right.
So, Brittany, you draw, as,
Yeah.
as how we have established. When you draw something, what do you do to limit what people can think about? Because I saw that you have you drew Link. I remember a while ago when he was waking up from the pod that he was in for 100 years. Breath of the Wild spoilers.
Yeah.
Second frame.
Isn't that the beginning?
Yeah. So I found it very interesting because you make him look very groggy, and you put some physics into his hair, which makes him look very moist. So
Never use that word again.
so what? How
What
did
happened?
Why did you design it like that? Because even in the game, he doesn't look very wet.
Well, I mean, okay, when you put it like that, but I'm just, what was going through my mind is when I have a reference, I was like looking at like the actual screenshot because, you know, I don't memorize like the frame, but I was looking at the screenshot, I was just like, okay, what can I do to like express this more? Like express like the feeling of him waking up after 100 years, I think. That's what
he's
happened in the
basically
game.
hanged.
Yeah. So basically, I was just like, okay, he's waking up in water. Gotta get the hair soaking. No shampoo, but like, he also. I wanted to kind of create a sense of power within him, and you don't really see a Triforce in his eyes. And a lot of people who online, this reached a ton of people online. This is like one of my art pieces that kind of reached like 1,000
damn.
people, which is kind of weird. I know. I was just like, okay, I'm famous for like a second. This is kind of cool.
So,
Hell yeah.
And a lot of the comments were just like, oh, that's so cool that you put the Triforce. That's like a cute little detail. I was like, yeah, you noticed. And I was just like, that kind of like made him like a sense of like, okay, he's special. He's powerful. He's not just waking up from a bubble bath. He has a mission.
He's on a mission. Boy in a
He's a
mission.
hero.
Yeah. And I also wanted to create like the sense of light behind him because I thought that was also like an emphasis on like, oh, awake, my child, you know.
Yeah.
Like, so that was basically what's going through my mind. I also like the blues, and I like to kind of combine yellow a lot in my drawing. So I would put like a little green tints because like blue and yellow make green. So it's kind of
Damn.
that.
happy.
And
Yeah. So we'll go into. So you tell a story through that drawing, and I guess I don't know you very well, but I'm guessing that you've played a game or two. I don't know. Yeah,
just a little bit. Not like Tetris and maybe The Sims. I'm just kidding. But like
The Sims.
So what would you say is a game that you played that has a lot of environmental storytelling?
Okay. So I was like looking through like my library and I was just like, huh. I play a lot of games that don't necessarily utilize it to like the best that they can, but they do. I feel like every game that is not text-based has like a little bit in each of them because like you have to have an environment. What's the story there? Herobrine. But like I'm just saying, yeah. So they don't utilize it like the most that they can. Like I feel like horror games that I play or watch usually use it best, or you know, like Dark Souls. You know, like stuff like that where you're not necessarily like following like a do this quest or go to this objective. You're basically just walking around this scary or interesting place, and you're kind of just looking around. And like horror, the genre just basically goes off of environment and threat. So that's a lot of the time where I was just like, oh, that's a game that's striking to me, where I just look around, I'm just like, whoa, like he wants to eat me, or he wants to kill my face because my father smacked him or something. Like you tell the story because of like what's happening.
Because my father
So
pissed
that's-
on him or something like that.
Yeah, that could happen.
I mean, that could happen too. But like,
he could be
that's
yellow.
a lot of the time.
Could have been Dr. Eggman who pissed on the moon. And the moon's son came back for revenge. That's what happened.
Pokemon?
Yes, my favorite horror game. So Wally, you confuse. I think you and Julia confuse environmental storytelling with and traditional storytelling when we were talking about Doom.
Yeah.
Because one of the things that's somewhat as of right now, there's a weird paradox in which games put codexes in the game, so to supplement the experience. And one of those is the Doom codexes, in which you find them throughout the world, and then you open a menu and go to a separate menu to read them. And I wouldn't qualify that as environmental storytelling as much as supplementary storytelling.
Okay. So
yeah,
there's a third kind.
Yeah. So one of the, it has to be in game and it has to be told through gameplay. So if you pick up a note and that note then turns into a menu that you read off plain text, like if it was a Microsoft Word document, then I wouldn't consider that very much environmental storytelling.
Yeah.
But if it
That's
was
fair.
if you pick up the paper and there's no separate menu and you can move around the paper and you find the words and you need to read them off the paper, like you're the character holding the paper, that's environmental storytelling.
I
So
see.
like one of the things was that RAF kind of makes it environmental storytelling, because what you do is you find notes that you then put into a notebook, and that would be environmental storytelling. Even though it is your menu, but it's not perceived as your menu, it's perceived as your notebook that you keep with you. So
Does Doom have a lot of notes in it or
Yeah.
codexes or?
Like
Yeah, it has a
there
good
are
number of them.
cutscenes,
Oh.
but to really dig into the lore, you have to read the codexes.
yeah.
That's the same thing with like Dragon Age, and like it has like a whole glossary of codexes. I'm just like, this is so much lore, but it's not environmental storytelling.
Yeah.
So, and also like older games tend to not do it. I feel like newer games, like you have a lot more potential, obviously, because like
Yeah.
graphical, like technicals
Yeah,
and
but
stuff like
to
that.
to an extent, Dark Souls kind of does it, because while they don't have codexes, they have a lot of item descriptions, and I would also not consider that environmental storytelling as much as supplementary storytelling, because you have to go through a menu, and then it will tell you all these things that this character couldn't possibly have known. But you can tell a lot of stories just based on where you found stuff, and based on the fact that a lot of enemies use the weapons that you're looking at. Like you can get Ornstein's hammer, and you can fight, or you can see him using it. Okay, that's his hammer, and you see statues when you go to his location. You see statues of him because he's a grand hero, and I'm like, okay, this guy's important. I'm gonna take his hammer, and it's just like, oh my god, now I have this legendary hammer, and there's a boom. The thing. I put two and two together. Ma, get the camera. So
It's
Jesus,
the
yeah,
context.
context is what
lore.
drives environmental storytelling. So, I mean, I think Doom has a lot of environmental storytelling, but it doesn't. Because when you go to Doom and you play the first level, you see the hologram ladies, and they're talking
Yeah.
about, oh, you think Doom guy will save you, but don't worry not. You are depraved humans, and this is your salvation. So you're like, okay, that thing looks expensive. So this company must have a lot of money to do this. So it must be a big company with a lot of power, and probably help cause this whole problem. It's just like, get the camera.
Like I only noticed that like this is a part of the story like in my third run, or like forced draw.
Yeah.
Just like, oh yeah, that's a thing.
Yeah, but I think that's the important part of our environmental storytelling. You can miss it if you're not paying attention.
Yeah, like that's what I was gonna say. Like I don't pay attention to too much detail. I'm just like, oh, pretty. Okay, go to the next room, and then when I'm forced to watch and sit a cutscene, then I'll like focus. But some people don't want that, especially in the quote unquote Doom shouldn't have story in it. You know, there shouldn't be cutscenes and whatever. I'm fine with that, honestly. Yeah.
Diego, what games have you played that are very heavy on dialogue?
I've been recently playing Fire Emblem Three Houses.
Oh my god.
Yeah, man, it's basically it's not a fighting game. It's not a tactical RPG. No, it's a dating simulator.
It's a dating simulator.
That's basically what it boils down to at that point. Very, very fan service centered. No, it's a good tactical RPG with very good story behind it. I have not finished it. I'm like maybe at 1% of the way through compared to the bigger scheme of things. I like it. I like it so far. Everything's funny. The character, they put a lot of time into this game when they created it. Every single interaction you have was made with a lot of love and care. And even though the graphics, you know, when the characters talk, they don't go on mouth to mouth. The dialogue they say makes up for it. And to be honest, that dialogue is so immersive that it makes you feel like Batman.
Shut up.
Jesus.
Every
It
time.
makes you
Every
feel like
goddamn time.
Byleth. It makes you feel like Byleth.
I thought you were gonna say Batman.
I was gonna say Batman. I cut myself off there for comedic effect because you know Luis was gonna be like, "Hey, shut up!"
This is fucking nonsense every time. But no, what I mean is
This is the
when
second time
you
I've said
play the game, how do you get most of the context? Do you get most of the context through people talking, or do you get most of the context through whatever location you're in?
both.
Yeah, but which one is more? Where do you get more information?
You get more information from how the story progresses. You can skip like most of the dialogue.
But who get? What's the main source of story, Diego? Like, do you go to a town and you're like, cool, this town's fucking decrepit as shit. It must have been invaded.
You're in Garrick Monarch the like entire time, and
What?
that's where the story progresses from.
All right, so it's mostly talking.
Yes.
All right, so this is an example of how it's not environmental storytelling.
Yeah, whatever that means.
Oh,
Oh my
So-
god, Diego.
okay. So Diego, let's say you go on a mission. All right, you go on a mission. You find a
Yeah.
piece of paper on the ground and it says trouble at location X. And then you travel to location X, and then you find a town which is completely
like GTA.
which is completely engulfed in fire, and you see dead people on the floor. Houses have been looted, and you're like, "Oh, I wonder what could have happened here." And then you look to the wall, and then you see the gang, the poopy gang was here, and you're like, "Oh, the poopy gang burned this village down and looted everybody and killed everything." And she's like, I should probably go get the poopy gang." And then you find some traces of their location because they were stupid and left a map somewhere. And you're like, "Oh, they left this map here in case people from the gang showed up, so they're very likely to rendezvous back in this village to pillage what's left of it." So you either wait at the village or you go to the poopy gang's gang location, and that's your storytelling. You're finding as the world goes on. Is what does it do that?
Thank you for this. I really appreciate that.
No.
No, it just sort of happens in Fire Emblem. You walk up to someone, they give you a quest. When you finish everything in that certain day, you just progress, and then the story goes on.
Yeah, that's
So
not
traditional.
environmental.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
we got that.
I think so.
If it's only through like conversation and whatnot, it's like, oh, go over here and get me my chicken. Okay, you brought me my chicken.
I hate the
Now
love letter
do this
missions
thing.
in Fire Emblem though. Give this person to someone I admire so much. I won't tell you who it is. You just gotta guess. You
But
can pick the wrong.
that helps you. That's environmental storytelling.
It's stupid though.
Because you get this letter and it's just like, okay, who?
It's
a-
stupid.
you-
These students are giving it to like the heads of the people, though. These
No,
are like teenagers, and they're
no.
giving it to 40-year-old people.
It's fine, but it's just like you get this letter and it's like it has no name, but it's addressed to a very specific person, and it lists specific traits, and you need to go through town
Yes,
to find
they
those
do.
specific traits and people,
But
and
I
you're like,
fucking
I
hate
did it. I'm a
those.
detective. Get the camera.
It's so like, well, like it's not that I don't like it when like, oh yeah, I know who it is immediately. It's just that it's like when you read it out loud, it's like, wait, why is this kid giving a love letter to someone who's like 50 or 40 years older than them?
Because Japan's weird.
So the context is very weird.
It's like, I
Japan's
know I
weird,
shouldn't
man.
be falling in love with them, but I think I'm just falling in love with you. It's like the head of the entire thing, and like, bruh.
Bruh. All right.
Okay.
So that's very nice that we got to that, because now we can go into player conveyance in a game with environmental storytelling. Look at that, Diego. You're being helpful. That's why you're the main host, baby.
Yay.
So, games try to make the illusion that you're in a big world, a new world. Don't you dare close your eyes. Don't take my jokes. But it's not possible. You can't make every possibility of a world. The developer's not gonna figure out that, man, I want to go in that house and poop in their lawn. And it's like,
Only in
no,
Cyberpunk.
you can't do that. It's a world, but you can't. One can't poop. You don't see
And
him
it
poop.
starts an event.
Yeah.
What's up with you and poop?
Yeah.
I have to go to the bathroom, but it's like,
Why did you use the bathroom?
because Brittany was here already. But it's just like you.
You could have been like, hey, excuse me, I'm
No.
going to use the bathroom.
I will not be late to my own goddamn podcast. But it's just like, okay, so
We do this for
You-
fun,
you-
man. I'm not
no.
paying you.
yeah, but I'll pay me. So it's just like we. What was I talking about?
You were talking about how you can't poop on someone's lawn.
Oh yeah, so yeah, games can have every possibility of anything that can happen. Like the developer will make a house, and they're like, okay, we'll break the windows, and we'll make the windows be able to break, but we won't make it so that you can blow up the entire side of the house. It's not something most people would do. And then you get like 4 players to say, hey, let's blow up the side of this house, and they're like, oh, you can't do it. 0 out of 10, literally unplayable. They have to make the illusion that, no, what you want to do is just break this window. And using environmental storytelling and player conveyance, they need to make you blow up that single window. So Brittany, if you were making a game and you wanted someone to look at one thing specific while keeping the world around, giving the illusion that the whole world around is completely open, what would you do?
You would lead the player like visually as much as you can without necessarily breaking that illusion. So I mean, some games they use like invisible walls, but if you really want to make the area as big as like you think the player will be curious, so they can walk around if like they do get sidetracked a little bit. But for the most part, just try to light up like a path with like interesting objects, or like say if like you're utilizing a lot of color in your game, you could make like the path like a little bit more colorful with the objects, or even just add like NPCs like later around like walking in certain areas. And then like say like you want to break the window, well, lead footprints near the window. Maybe like there's somebody who broke into that or went into that house and the door's locked. Oh no, you gotta go to the window that's conveniently right next to the door. So you could try to do that, and that would be very helpful.
I mean,
Yeah,
another thing
so-
that usually happens is that even in older games, right, a lot of NPCs will say, "Oh, windows are very." They want to say windows are very easy to break, and it's, even when you have no equipment. So like, I guess you could also make it so that the NPCs kind of say something about windows, or that you don't give the player explosives, so they have to break the window and just the window.
Yeah, like you can like have like an iron pipe right next to like the door, or like say like have like the character inspect an object, say, oh, this is broken, I can easily, well, that's not environmental. But like you can like have like if you press a button, your character inspects an object, and then you can probably take that and then bash that window to smithereens, and then you will have like fully utilized environmental storytelling.
Yeah, or like you.
Without like saying like, "Whoa, that window looks breakable."
Yeah, or like you're in a house that's somewhat it's somewhat decrepit, so there's boards on the windows, and it's recently been boarded up, so the construction crew left their hammer conveniently by the window.
You know what?
I can pick up this hammer and just open the window.
You know what would be really cool if like, well, this is for like the specific situation, but like if your character walked up to a window, saw like a subtle reflection of him breaking the window with a hammer, and then you find the hammer, and it's just like,
I thought you were gonna say they walked in on someone having an affair.
Excuse me.
Well, that could happen too, but like,
Right.
I'm just saying the reflection.
Yeah. And so you're saying that you can make it so that it could be. I mean, you could also make it so that your character's flaw is that he's unstuck in time, so he can see himself in the future in some scenarios, and he's like, he sees himself breaking a window, and he's like, okay, I gotta break this window. And then you find a hammer to break that window.
I mean, you can get really creative with it. I mean, like in Life is Strange, like you as Maxwell, I think her name is, like if I did something wrong. Like, I had to, like, open a window to let a bird in so it wouldn't fly into the window and die. So I walked into the room the first time, the bird died because it ran into the window, and I was just like, oh no, I needed to save that. And she could reverse time, and then she would walk in again, and I opened the window because I knew, and then the bird lived. So you can do it like that, like, oh, this is the thing you're supposed to do, but trial and error, you're finding out how to do it.
What
So
if you
that's
just
cool, too.
keep letting the bird die out of amusement?
And you're a horrible person.
I'm.
You could do that,
Yes.
but...
Just have it running in loop as you go to bed.
I think I accidentally did it twice, and I was just like, oh.
The bird. So
no.
Wally, we were talking in Doom. Doom is, let's be real, Doom is mostly a straight line. You go from
what?
Doom is mostly a straight line. Like there's not much of divergent paths, but the world looks extremely open.
Oh
because
yeah.
it's huge. But you for most of the time you don't really feel compelled to. I want to jump off this building to the next building. No, you're like, no, there's something I can shoot in the face over there. I want to go over there.
Like that's the main game, but you have the map and you can like see secret. Like the only reason why you want to explore is to find secrets, and like some of the secrets are like, oh, you have an extra life, or your shield and health, go full with an item, But most of the time it's just like, oh, it's a toy or it's a codex.
Yeah, but you can play the whole game without opening the map.
Oh yeah, you can just.
It's not completely necessary.
It's not. If you want to just kill demons, you can 0 times out of 10 open the map and you'll still finish the game and still be satisfied, I think.
Yeah, but how do they, when you play them, how do they convey this huge world and yet keep you narrowed through basically a straight line?
It's definitely, I think, about how the gameplay is. Like, you go into a room, you can't go out nor you can't go back or continue until you kill the demons. So that's why you just go from point A to point B every single time. That's how I'd explain it.
Is there any specific story reason that would say, okay, so you go into a room and the room opens and you have 3 doorways and 2 of them are gonna lead you to not progress in the game. They're for more items or it's a secret going through a challenge over there. But a lot of times you're able to see which door is progression. It's very most of the time it's very clear that, all right, these 2 doors don't look as important, but this door does. So I'm going to go through this door.
From what I remember, the newer Doom games doesn't even have that. It's the old 90s games where you have to like actually check every single... And I think that's a tactic from like old games, just to like extend the length of a game.
Yeah.
Just to like, oh, let's make this more difficult and let's fuck with the player. You know, let's not make this clear for them.
No, but one of the rooms that I remember is that you can go straight and go to the next room, and that is progression. But there's also, if you look up, there is another room that houses a secret, and it's very clear that you can get up there. And you're like, okay, so it's either the easiest route forward, or that's somewhat. It's not impossibly challenging, but it's still somewhat challenging.
Yeah.
And that's also forward. But when you see through the door, and then you can see an altar at the end of this hallway, that open in front of you, and you're like, that seems important, but you don't really get any projection of what's going to happen later when you look up. You just see that you can grapple on something, and you're like, okay,
Yeah.
which one is forward? And you're like, oh, the altar is forward because I'm looking for an altar, because I'm looking for a priest, which was prefaced in the beginning. I need to go to the altar, so you
Yeah.
decide to go to the altar. So that to me is environmental storytelling leading to conveyance, while
Yeah.
keeping the world is completely open, but you need to go forward.
Yeah, and a great way, or like the way they did it with the modern Doom games, is legit just add green lights to where you should be going. Like this is, if you see a green light, then it's usually like on ledges that you can grab on, or just, oh, you need to jump there because wait, there's a green light. So green
Or
means
orange.
forward. Yeah.
So you
And-
can grab onto them.
Yeah, and like other things in Doom Eternal specifically, where some of the secrets are behind like cracked walls. Spoiler alert. Behind cracked walls, and some of the areas where you can only go forward by breaking a green crack on the wall, but some of the cracks aren't green; they're just cracks.
Yeah.
And that's where it's like, oh, this isn't forward, but this is a secret. So
Yeah,
it
game
could-
design leading to conveyance.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Brittany, have you played Doom?
Very little. I played like a little bit of 3, like the beginning of it. But I don't have any of the others.
Do you remember anything about the design of Doom?
The third one, I think, well, you probably know, it's like a little bit more
Yeah, it
horror
is.
based.
That's like
So like, yeah, like the level design, I think it was like somewhat linear, but like it definitely was really cool. I could understand the story more through that rather than what the characters said in the beginning, because then the characters kind of, I don't want to say anything, but they kind of don't appear after the
Yeah.
monsters happen. And then once you're going through, you kind of just like see all like these different parts of like the institution. So you kind of get what's happening and like kind of understand like your mission. But other than that, I haven't completed all of
Yeah.
it. So it's
You
very
actually
hard to
reminded me,
tell.
that game has a lot of environmental storytelling, because like there are codexes, but then you don't like go to a menu to read them. They're audio, and you have to listen to them. So like there are some of the secrets are like,
There are people from
Behind-
the game.
yeah, and some of the secrets are behind like security boxes, and you have to enter a code to get them. I personally like just Googled them, but
Howard.
yeah, but like the actual way to do it is to find those codexes, those audio logs, listen to them, and it's like, oh, like this person put a med kit in this security room, and the code for this is blah blah blah, and you have to go there and open
That's
it.
really cool to convey like kind of lore stuff. I feel like having like the player kind of get involved with like, oh, you gotta actually find the messages rather than just like, oh, pick up a note and read it kind of thing. Kind of
Yeah.
cool. It's like a blessing that I even like picked up that game, because like I get like so scared by horror. So like a lot of like the games that do really use environmental storytelling are like horror games, and like I get so spooked that I'm either watching it or I'm playing it and like scaring myself to the limit. So like I don't.
So
I wish I could have like a higher like
I
tolerance.
mean,
for that, but-
a great game that has environmental storytelling is Breath of the Wild.
Da-da-da-da.
Oh.
You're breaking up, Diego. What's happening?
No, I was just singing.
What?
Oh.
I was singing Breath of the Wild theme song. YouTube.com.
YouTube.com/Diego sings Breath of the Wild. But no, it's just like in Breath of the Wild, there's plenty of characters, but there's no one's there. The only thing that you get is that the king tells you, "Oh, everything's fucked. Go get the girl," and then she saves you because she's overpowered as fuck. I don't know how she lost. She literally erases Ganon, but that's a different problem. But you go through the world and you know everything's decrepit and everything is ruined, but even without someone telling you, you can figure that out because you go to villages and they're ruins. No one's there. And sometimes there's food on the table, but people are gone. So it's just like, okay, people had to abandon this town. And then you find guardians around, and you're like, okay, the guardians went mad and killed everybody. You're like, oh, okay. And then you walk around some more, and you see that, oh, this place is flooded, and then you go into this water puddle, and then you see houses. And you're like, oh, someone attacked this village, or it had a huge flood. And you're like, oh, how did this happen? And then you see around, and you're like, okay, this is a huge valley, and there's a dam over here. So the construction of this dam killed everybody. And you're like, oh, environmental storytelling. And then you go through their shit, and then you leave because there's no real purpose to that set piece except telling you everything's gone. So and that sets the setting for, okay, you have to do something to make it better, and that propels you to the big scary looking castle. You're like, okay, everything's gone, everything's in ruin. The old man said Ganon did it. That castle looks spoopy. I'm gonna go get it. And you're like, okay,
Maybe Ganon is there.
Yeah, that's the game.
Maybe Ganon is your dad.
Yeah, and like you can go around and people tell you about their lives, and you're like, but Ganon has been here for like 100 years, so they only know about the calamity. So like they're like, yeah, life can be pretty shitty sometimes, but I have my pumpkins. And you're like, oh, that's cool. And like you go to someone else and like, life can be pretty shitty sometimes, but hey, I got my carrots. And like, oh, okay. And then you go to
Hey, they're optimists, man.
yeah, then you go to Gerudo Valley and you're like, why are there only women here? And they're like, they don't tell you. It's just only women are born here and only women are allowed to be here. And she's like, okay, how do I get in? And then you go around and you find some trap that says, I can give you a dress. And you're like, oh, I love dresses. And then you put on a dress and you can walk into the village and you're like, whoa, I can walk into the village. Environmental storytelling. It's like,
Yeah, imagine being born a man in that village after Ganon.
you can't. It's only if you go in deeper. Ganon's literally the only male that can be born in Gerudo Valley.
Yeah. So imagine being the only man born
Yeah,
after.
you're like, oh fuck, I'm gonna die.
I want to get your opinion, guys, on this. So you know how like a lot of traditional storytelling games are just like on YouTube, like so and so game, like Devil May Cry 5 movie, all cutscenes, and it's just like a 2-hour video of like all of the main cutscenes
Yeah,
and like some of the action. So and then I like because of this topic, I thought about it, and like you can't really do that with environmental storytelling games. Like you can't do that with Dark Souls, nor or like Breath of the Wild to like get the full experience.
yeah, it has to be conveyed through gameplay.
Yeah. So do you guys think that's a good or a bad thing?
I don't know, man.
I mean, it could be
Both,
either
if
or.
you-
Like, I don't think necessarily like traditional storytelling is bad, but I do think a balance is definitely really cool if used well. Environmental storytelling, I feel like does have like a little bit more of an advantage because I think back to one of the games that I own that I haven't finished, which is Rain World. And in the beginning they have like a mini cutscene where it's just like you're like a ferret looking dude and like you're a ferret and you lose your family in a storm and the whole game you're trying to get back to your family and find out like what happened to them, and the entire game is just like not leading you anywhere, and you're just like walking around this environment, like very desolate apocalyptic place with like magical things that you don't even know what they do, and then you're just going through the story trying to like figure out like what happened, and like I think that's really cool. It kind of keeps me wanting to play it more. I haven't looked at my Steam library. I forgot about it, but like when I do look at it, I'm just like, damn, like I wish I played that game. I wish I found out because like I really don't know what's happening, and like it kind of hints me more and more. So I feel like it kind of teases you a little bit if you do utilize it instead of like codexes where it's just like, okay, I know this amount of the story, can't wait to read more about it type of thing. So that's a little
but what about
snippet.
you, Diego? So you don't prefer either or?
I really don't mind.
Yeah, but which one do you prefer? Or do you when you're playing a game?
Maybe most likely environmental, because if I'm the type of person to look at a tree branch and be like, that looks suspicious, and walk over to it, and then a horde of tree branch minions comes attacking me, and like, whoa, man, this is crazy. Why are they doing this? And then we'll beat the living crap out of them, and then they're like, stop, we don't need this. We need help. We're sorry. And then they take me over to their leader. He's like, we are the tree branch people. We have not been able to live in peace because of this village over here, destroying and killing all of our men and women, and sometimes children too. We need your help. And then they're like, they contact me, and they're like, we would be honored to have you in our presence. And then you save the day. You basically murder everyone in the village, and then you're like, here you go. You're in peace now. And they're like, thank you very much, traveler. We will give you 1 gold piece.
And then you find out that they were actually the evil ones. Just
No,
wanted to make you
that's
kill the
it.
village.
That's it.
And then you
That's a combination, but it does sound interesting. I would play that. I'm
rank
just saying.
people, man. So I have a big gripe with traditional storytelling in games because it's a huge missed opportunity. Because if I wanted to read something, I'll read a book. I don't need a game to make me read. I want a game.
But what if
to
the game
experience
has like
something.
voice acting?
Then fine. But it's just like a lot of heavily dialogue games don't have voice acting because voice acting is expensive. But it's just like, if I want to read, I'll read a book. I don't need this 15-year-old game developer to tell me, yo, I got angst reading about it. And I'm like, no,
So
I
you
don't
would
care.
not like Danganronpa?
No, I would not like Danganronpa. But what
no.
I mean, it depends on how good it is and how
It's very good.
gameplay is.
It's
But
2%.
the problem that I have, especially with Persona 5, is that Persona 5 is goddamn. Shut up, Diego. Is beautiful, and I love the design and I love everything. But I hate how they tell the story sometimes, because when you finish the first half of the story, you know that you're technically being interrogated and you're telling a story to the police or the prosecution or whatever. It's not related. It's not important. But you know that this is not happening. But still, when you finish the first half, there's like a 25-minute cutscene of stuff just happening that you can't do anything about. It's just dialogue after dialogue, and there's not even voice acting because it's so long. You're just like, let me play. And it got to the point in which I just left with it speeding up, made some chicken, came back, and it was still dialogue. And I'm like, I love these characters, I really do, but I want to play the game. I want to play Persona 5.
If you don't understand, what they're going through, what the story is, how can you love them more?
But you
How can
do
be
understand
more
because
connected?
they're not that complicated of characters, and you talk to them when you go out with them, and they will tell you what you just saw, and you're like, okay, I
Even
guess.
if you don't know, but like a 25-minute cutscene.
It's just like, okay, fine, and it's just like,
I heard Kingdom Hearts has like a similar issue, 3 specifically, not the first 2, where I think a lot of the gameplay is like cinematic, and my siblings were a bit frustrated with that, and they're like, I just want to play Kingdom Hearts, I want to play Sora, and like then you're just watching Kingdom Hearts
yeah,
the movie.
but it's just like
So-
Persona 5. You work so hard to make Persona 5 look so sexy. You're like, damn. Let me enjoy what you made, and it's just like, so how you guys want to go for dinner? He's like, yeah, that'd be cool. Let's go to the coffee shop. Yeah, let's go to the coffee shop. And I'm like, okay, you want to call the other guys? Yeah, I'll call the other guys. And then you see them texting each other. She's like, oh yeah, let's go to the coffee shop. And then you see each of them arrive at the coffee shop, and she's like, yeah, how are you? How are you? I'm like, I'm doing good. He's like, hey, you want to hang out later? And she's like, yeah, we can hang out later. We're hanging out right now, but let's just hang out, you and me. And then you see them go on a date. You're like, okay,
Are you okay?
how is this over? And you're like, oh, let's set up another date. And she's like, oh wait, I'm on level 7, rank 7 with these other characters, and they're gonna call me now. And it's just like, okay, I can just
Hey,
hang out
Luis,
with them because I'm
Luis,
rank 7.
Luis,
They
Luis,
show up. And you're like,
Luis.
okay,
Luis,
what?
what's your point?
My point is, if you made a game for me to play, don't give me a book to read
Or a
Let
movie
me-
to watch.
or a movie to watch. Let me play the game. It's a game. It's the interaction that I want. There's way more interesting books than Persona 5.
I mean, yeah, I don't read though, so I wouldn't know.
So yeah, that's my
What books
problem with
are
traditional
more interesting than
storytelling.
Persona 5?
I have. Let me see.
Give us them.
I have.
He's got the Bible.
No, I have several books here. I have Patrick Owen's Master of Commanders. The best.
What's a
resource-
Patrick Owen?
Patrick O'Ryan. I have a bookshelf of books behind me, and I can read those. They're interesting stories recommended to me
read.
by a law professor, and I'm like, okay, I can read
You love
that.
the law.
I don't want to read your game. So yeah, that's my problem with environmental storytelling. But it could be with traditional storytelling. But it could be done. The point of games is that you can merge them together so well. You can have people talking about the world they're in, about their experiences, and have the world tell you a story as well. You don't need to shove down my throat without letting me play as I make another sandwich. That you're gonna go out on the date with this guy right
I
now.
could go for a sandwich right now, to be honest.
I feel like the game that has the best kind of storytelling might be PT, the horror game
Yeah,
demo.
the one that you walk
Yeah.
through the hallway.
Yeah, it's one of the best horror games, and it does environmental storytelling really well. I
Yeah.
tried to play it. I didn't know what the fuck was going on. So I looked at YouTube. I'm like, wait a minute. What is this all about?
Yes.
And it's like everyone has a different theory. You know, nothing is clear. And it's
Yeah.
like maybe it's a bit too much.
I
but
do-
I feel like the creativity in that game is at an all-time high.
I do like how like environmental storytelling does make you kind of have your own interpretation. Because like if like somebody tells you like, hey, this is a BLT sandwich, you're gonna say that's a BLT sandwich. But if you look at it, you can say, oh, those tomatoes look like meat, and that's like a ham sandwich instead. And like you can have like different like perspectives about like certain things in like a story that other people will be like differing, and it would be kind of like a cooler experience, kind of more personal, and you kind of feel like you're kind of figuring out something on your own rather than like the game just telling you, yeah, this is blank. We kind of just gave you the
Yeah.
info. Like having yourself like involved in the game is really cool. So that's
Like
what I think.
imagine you go to a house, and you came to a house on a separate quest. You came to a house to deliver something, and the family at the house says, "Hey, join us for dinner. You did a nice thing. You brought us the flower basket that we wanted. So join us for dinner." And then they serve you a sandwich, and you can take that sandwich with you, and you go around and then then you find out that another family has a problem with that family, and then they tell you those people are evil or cannibals. The meat that they have is from the kids that they steal, and you're like, that makes no sense. And then you go check around the house because you have nothing else to do, and you snoop around, and then you find out that, oh yeah, that's true, they're cannibals. And then you read the description, or you look at your sandwich and you realize that meat is people, and you're like, so you have this choice of, do you take vengeance on the family that you just helped, or do you just leave and ignore it and just know that these families are murderers? And you can completely miss that if you miss the one house that tells you that they're cannibals. Environmental storytelling. It's like,
Yeah, I'm gonna need you to repeat that whole thing.
what? Why?
No, Diego,
I'm just,
you
I'm
you
just
listen to
messing
that
with you.
in the podcast.
I'm just messing with him.
Oh.
Oh, what is he gonna have an event right now? A environmental story event?
Yes.
What event?
Would have been.
Huh?
Waleed used the answer that would change the story right now. So, okay, Waleed.
What is it? What is going on?
We are currently in a game. That's what's going on.
What?
Mm-hmm.
What's the game
The
called?
game is called
The
Cast
Adventures of
Pods.
Waleed.
The game.
Or
The game.
The
No, it's
movie.
The game.
The game.
So, and the main characters are you guys. I'm the puppet master, and what you guys need to do is keep talking.
Okay, Diego.
Sounds fair.
Tell what will be a good example of a combination of traditional storytelling and environmental storytelling?
You walk up to a tree and you see a branch.
Don't give me this again.
Give a game.
The branch people. What's a good game that you played?
That has both.
Ratatouille, the movie, the game. I'm saying.
Yes.
Fire Emblem, 3 houses.
Oh, I know some. Know some? Yeah, I know you guys haven't heard of this
She
game
was a FNAF.
before. Skyrim.
Oh.
Yes.
I know it.
Yeah,
It just
man,
came
I
out.
was
No.
Came
I
out for
actually
the
heard
seventh
of this nice indie game. Yeah.
Very
Yeah.
small, I know, but yeah. When I was little, I always like try to figure out what was like the good side of the war, and like I would try to figure out what side was morally right by my standards. Do you guys remember what the sides were called? I don't necessarily know. All I know is red and blue, and like
Wrong game.
that's what I called them. But basically, like you have like the people overthrowing the government, you have the government itself, and you kind of realize that the people overthrowing the government are doing it because they have lack of freedom. But turns out, oh no, they're racist. And then you have the
Yeah, that.
government itself, and they're kind of forcing their civilians to like be wrongly imprisoned, but at least they're not racist. And like you kind of have to kind of morally weigh their actions. But they don't tell you, yo, we're racist. But you go to a village and they're like, they're racist. They're
Racism
oppressing
is
us.
bad,
Like
y'all.
the elves are like,
No good.
yeah. You see like there's like an alley where all like the elves live, which is like very poor obviously, and then there's like the Nords who are just living in like mansions and whatnot on the other side of the city, and you're just like, I wonder if there's oppression here. And you kind of
wonder.
realize that that's the you kind of realize that that's like the whole like dilemma. And I always liked the people like usurping the government, and then I realized, oh god, they're racist. So I'm just like, okay, I'll do it 50-50. Whenever I do a run, I'm just gonna pick whatever side I didn't pick before. Because like I honestly don't know. I don't like being murdered wrongly for a crime I didn't do, but I also don't like racism. So that's the dilemma, and it's done both through people tell me, oh yeah, I'm kind of being a prison for something I didn't do, and like you can see in cities like, oh, this is happening. Like I can see in my environment that stuff is happening that's wrong.
Yeah, Skyrim opens up with you being executed. You're like,
Yeah,
wait,
so
wait,
you experience
wait,
it
wait.
yourself.
Hold up. I feel like I missed chapter 1 and 4. How did we get to chapter 5 right here?
So you're finally awake. You've been trying to cross the border. But like, yeah, and then you see like another execution in Solitude, and then apparently the guy is like somebody's uncle or something. I don't know. It's like all like these layers, and you kind of get hints throughout the entire game, which is really cool. But it is an indie game. You should check
it out. It's only come out like 6 times already, so you should get the 7th one. It's the same one. It has 66,000 mods, so it's I feel like the community is pretty good.
Mm-hmm. It's pretty small. Pretty small. Yeah.
Oof. All right. I get very, very sad whenever games solely want you to read, and it's like, dude, they're like, oh, there's an abandoned house, go check it out, and then you go to the house and it's like pristine, and you're like, this house is not abandoned. I'll buy this house now. And is this house flipper? Like what's happening? And then you walk in and it's like everything's super clean, and like you find a note saying this house has been abandoned for generations, and you're like, you could have put a cobweb somewhere. Like I don't know, maybe the door lock was broken. Maybe the door it has writing on it. Describe something. You made a game. Make me feel like I'm in a world. Don't make me feel like I'm reading.
Batman.
Yeah.
Don't say that again.
This game
Every time.
really makes you feel like Batman.
Every time. And every goddamn podcast you say that.
No, I've only said it twice, and today was the second time.
No, you always say this game really makes you feel like blank.
Prove
Every
it.
time.
Make your argument. Danganronpa. Go. Dun, 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 dun.
Danganronpa.
Yeah. Make your argument.
I killed them.
Danganronpa.
Make your argument.
For what?
I say it every single time. This is the event in the game right now, guys.
Oh, that you say.
Make your argument.
Do you feel like that you say, oh, this really makes you feel like blank.
Batman.
All right, you said that with Doom Guy when we're talking about how exploration and mobility helps. You said that with. I mean, I'm gonna look up all our episodes.
Do it on not podcast time then.
I'm already, dude. I have 2 computers right here. I can look. I can look it up right now. So you.
All right,
you
what were we talking
You
about?
said that with Smash, I believe, with Falcon, because you said it truly makes you feel like Falcon. And he's like, oh, all right. You said it with Pokemon because you were like, it truly makes you feel like a Pokemon master.
Can we do this
You said
another
that with
time,
FIFA.
please?
No, this is part of the event, Waleed. This is part of the environmental storytelling.
I want to ask a question about story game.
You can ask now then.
Yay. Okay. Thank you for your permission.
You are welcome.
What do you guys think of Mario games? Like I
Mario
know
games?
like no one plays like the 3D.
I like them.
Yeah. No. Yeah. I feel like most people like them, but I don't feel like it's because of the story. Because remember
there's not story in the. You remember the original one? The only story was the princess didn't know the castle. That's it.
Yeah,
That was the original story.
It's just go find Peach, and it's like I was trying to convince a friend to play Super Mario games, but then he's like, it's always the same goddamn story. Oh, Bowser takes Peach, blah blah blah. Go find her. Well, in the 3D games, not the Paper Mario games. Those are different.
Yeah, those
Yeah,
are
those are completely
RPGs.
different. Yeah.
Yeah, but do you feel like 3D Mario games should find or change up the story?
I mean, certain Mario games should do that if they want to stand out from other ones. Otherwise, it's just playing the same thing over and over again, especially with a new series. However, I feel like at its core, like a Mario game, if you're gonna be like doing this 2D side scroller or even like the regular 3D to save Peach at the end, you should have your own mechanics to distinguish yourself from the other game. Like Super Mario World 1 is like super different from the first Mario game. Whereas like you have new Super Mario Bros on the DS, which is essentially at its core the exact same thing as the first Mario game. It just one's just more modern than the other. So I think it just ultimately depends on what you want in a game. To be honest, if like for me, I don't really mind about story. I don't want Tetris to have a story for crying out loud. And well, you think I want to know why the Tetris block is like 2x2? No. I just want to play the game. It's a fun game. I'm gonna enjoy it. Personally, I just want to play a game where I can enjoy it. Story or not. If it makes sense, then I'm probably gonna be taken out of the immersion. But if it's just simple, do this and go there, I'm okay with that.
That's fair. But like, I remember, I forgot the name. No, I didn't. It's Mario, but in water.
What?
Sunshine, Super Mario Sunshine.
Oh,
Yeah,
yes.
like that. I think that's the only like Mario game that's like kind of different.
Have you played Galaxy?
No, I know, like that's in space.
I would say that it's the story in Mario is just more of an excuse for the gameplay because you're like, okay, what we need to inspire the player to do something, and we can do the cliche. The easy story is like save the girl from the big bad monster. Go for it. So that's kind of it. The real meat of Mario is that every level has its own mechanic that make it different from each level, and that's kind of the appeal. The appeal is not the story. The appeal is the story and gameplay.
It's like the mechanics of it.
That's
Like
fair.
when-
Yeah.
Like certain levels are gonna be Bowser's Castle, the other one's underwater or underground, the other one's gonna be the air.
And even the
You have
different
the ground
games,
ones.
like Sunshine, you have the jetpack, water jetpack. Galaxy, you have the different
Planets.
planets.
And then you have all the power ups, and you have Rosalina birthing out little Lumas.
Yeah, and Odyssey, you have a fucking hat.
Mm-hmm.
There's a ghost
Yeah.
that makes you possess frogs.
And it's unique. They all have their own style. Like they all have their own gameplay, and it's fun. People enjoy it. So I don't really think it needs to have a huge emphasis on like story wise. But as long as it's fun, in the end, if they say it's gonna be a story based game, they better make the story good and immersive and something I want to engage in. But if they're just like just a simple side scroller or something like that, then I'm not really gonna care too much about story, to be honest.
Yeah, Paper Mario.
Yeah. Like that's like an actual game where they say, "Hey, there's a story in this game. Wow, I want to see what the story is." And like, "Wow, that was a pretty good story." And then you play some other game and it's like, "No, that's not a good story." They said it was a story game though. That's not a good
Yeah,
story.
and of course, Paper Mario is also a very heavily monologue game, but there with some hints of traditional storytelling, like why is the color gone from this area and not from the other area? She's like, "Oh, okay." Then you find out through game that it's okay, it's someone stole the color, so let's do something about it.
You stole the color.
Yeah, of just this specific area, so a specific conflict in this one area, and then you solve it, you get the star, color returns, and then you leave. So it's not. I would say that going to a Mario game for story is kind of a bit insane if you're going for the platformers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What about you, Brittany?
I feel like Mario games are very satisfying
Yes.
to play. But like I feel like there is a bit of a story, but it's like a more upbeat, funny, like one-off story that doesn't really have a lot of twists and turns. So there's like lack of traditional, obviously, and like a lot of lack of like environmental storytelling. You can have like a lot of environmental like factors that help with the gameplay, make it pleasing, make it cool to look at, and fun to play, and very nice to feel like Mario. But like you can't learn more about the story through that. You can only just like jump on this block, punch, stomp on this dude, and like all that jazz. But it's not necessarily storytelling, but it's definitely pleasing. The game's strong suit isn't a story, then it doesn't really need either traditional or environmental, if that makes sense.
Just needs gameplay.
It's for the gameplay, and you need to feel
Don't-
like the Italian.
don't.
See, I'm not the only one who does that. It
Yeah,
wasn't
but she's
me
only
this
done it
time.
once. What about you?
Well, guess what? It's a thing. All right? At least
But
it's not my fault that you make the segue up for that. You set it up. You set it up, and I slam dunk it.
You mean talking about playing a game in a podcast about video games is your setup?
No, you set it up, and then I go in, I slam dunk that goal.
Goal?
Yeah, goal.
Yeah.
Yeah,
My
you
favorite slam dunk.
in soccer.
Yeah, you slam dunk, and then you go in for that field goal right after the score point in the third half.
In tennis.
Yes.
Right after Love 40
God.
Hole in one.
No!
from an eagle.
Oh my god. Alright.
Well,
Alright. Do we want-
anyone want to add something?
I mean, how much have we recorded so far?
About an hour. Or not about, like an hour and 5 minutes, I think.
Alright. Any closing remarks?
Yeah, anything to wrap it up, Brittany? You have anything else to say? Funny stories that you found interesting in games?
I just wanna say one thing. You guys should play Skyrim. Guys should play Back at the Barnyard, the GameCube game. And you guys should also compare those two because they're very similar in how they utilize environmental storytelling and character
Actually,
development.
I did hear
So,
how that game was actually.
that's
really
your
like it.
homework.
I'm not even gonna lie. Yeah,
I'm
she's
not
like,
lying.
she's
I
not
wish
even
I
joking.
was.
It's actually like it. I've seen gameplay of it.
Jesus.
That's your homework. You can emulate it. I mean, you can legally obtain it, and then you can play it, and then tell me about it. Like, come on.
Interesting.
Alright.
Luis, I want to see you play it on the channel.
Oh my god. Sure, why not?
Yeet.
Oh my
I
god.
don't
Yeah.
think I can. I'll check if I can run Skyrim.
Well,
Very cool. All right, so with that being said, thank you all so much for joining us for another episode of the Cast Up Pods. As me, Diego, Luis, and Wally, your hosts, will sign us off. And Brittany, our guest today, as we just said earlier. If we have any other closing remarks that just suddenly came up before I wrap it up?
Environment storytelling is better.
not for my small brain.
They're okay.
All right, and that is it. And thank you all once more. And we hope to have you all listen again. Have a good day.
Yeah.
Bye.